My name is Leif Erikson, and I am the son of two worlds. The first was forged in fire and exile, the world of my father, Eric the Red, a man of storm and steel. He was outlawed from Norway for bloodshed, cast out from Iceland for violence, and from that exile he birthed a new dream, Greenland, a name full of hope and deception. There was little green to be found in that icy wilderness, but my father believed a good name could build a future. And perhaps it did. I was raised on the edge of the world, where frost kisses every breath and the sea howls through every dream. In Brattahlid, our settlement on Greenland's southern coast, I grew tall under skies the color of steel. The longhouse was our heart, its walls thick with sod, its air heavy with smoke, sweat, and saga. It was a life of hardship, yes, but also of pride. We were survivors, seafarers, storytellers. My earliest memories are of waking in the half-dark, the cold biting through furs, and the scent of pine smoke clinging to everything. I remember my father standing by the hearth, a shadow more than a man, his eyes always fixed on the horizon, as if the land we had carved was never enough. In his silence was a lesson. The world belongs to the bold. By the time I was a man, I could steer a long ship through a blizzard, hunt seal on drifting ice, and silence a quarrel with a single glance. But I lived in my father's shadow, a giant of a man whose every word carried the weight of law. I did not seek his crown, I sought my own saga. That saga began not on Greenland's icy shores, but in Norway, under very different stars. King Olaf Tryggvason, Christian, fierce, and silver-tongued, welcomed me to his court. He spoke of a new god, not carved in stone or hanging from trees, but one who forgave, who bled for man, who promised eternal life not through valor, but through grace. I listened, and I was baptized. Some say I abandoned the old gods that day. I did not. I carry them still in my bones and in my dreams. But I took the cross because the world was changing, and I meant to shape it, not be buried by it. King Olaf gave me a mission, return to Greenland and bring the word of Christ. But fate placed another whisper in my ear, a whisper of land farther west. A merchant named Bjarni Herjolfsson had glimpsed it, lost in fog and storm. Trees, he said, a gentle coast, untouched. I saw a different kind of mission then, not just to preach, but to found. I gathered men, not soldiers, not raiders, but settlers, craftsmen, dreamers. Some were my blood. Others were men I had sailed with, laughed with, bled beside. 35 in all. I bought Bjarni's ship, weathered, seasoned, and we readied it for a journey no Norseman had dared finish. The morning we departed Greenland, the sky was glass gray and silent. My father stood beside me, older now, but unbroken. He offered no blessing, only a nod. That was enough. We sailed into the unknown, on salted wind and blind faith. The ocean tested us. For weeks we saw nothing but water and sky. We sang to keep spirits high. We rationed every morsel of food. There were arguments, men on edge, sick of the cold, the damp, the doubt. A man named Snorri tried to rally a mutiny, demanding we turn back. I did not strike him down. I shared my rations with him that night, and in the morning he stood beside me at the helm. The sea gave us no mercy. Storms crashed over us like the fists of angry gods. Lightning split the sky. At one point I tied myself to the steering oar just to keep the ship from capsizing. I prayed, not to Christ, nor to Odin, but to the ocean itself, to whatever force would see us through. And one morning, it answered. Land! Came the cry from the crow's nest. And there it was. Not a trick of fog, not a mirage, but true land. Endless trees, a scent of earth and life. We named the first place we touched Helluland, the land of flat stones. We pressed on, reaching a second place we called Markland, the land of forests. But it was further south, where the berries grew thick and the winters whispered instead of screamed, that we found what we would call Vinland. It was like stepping into a dream. Gentle rivers, wild wheat, grapevines that curled around the trees, deer bold enough to watch us work. The men wept, not from fear, but from relief. We built shelters, a forge, a place for worship, a hall. We fished, we hunted, we mapped the land. I felt as though the gods or God had led us to Eden. This, I believed, was our true future. But the land was not empty. The Skrælingjar, the native people, came to us like ghosts in the forest. At first, we traded milk, cloth, and axes for furs and meat. We did not understand one another's words, but we shared gestures, gifts, curiosity. I had hoped for peace. But peace is fragile when built on unknown soil. My brother Thorvald burned with our father's fire, but not his wisdom. One day, he and his men ambushed a sleeping group of Skrælingjar. They struck first. They drew blood. One escaped. Days later, the forest moved. Arrows rained. War cries filled the trees. They came swift, angry, unstoppable. We fought back with sword and shield, forming a wall of iron around our settlement. But they knew the land. They vanished into the mist and returned again and again like the spirits of the very earth. Thorvald fell, an arrow in the ribs. I held him as his blood warmed the soil. He looked at me, not with rage, but regret. Brother, he whispered, I have doomed us. He was right. We could not win a war in a land not ours, against a people whose ancestors had walked it since the first snow melted. We stayed one last winter. The forge went cold, the berries withered, the song left our voices. In the spring, we loaded the ship with timber, skins, iron. The longhouses, once echoing with laughter and dreams, we left standing but empty, monuments to an attempt not yet meant to endure. The mists rolled in, and as we sailed away, Vinland disappeared into myth behind us. Back in Greenland, I was changed. I brought the Christian faith. Some embraced it, some mocked it. I did not press them. I had seen something few would believe. I never returned to Vinland, but I think of it often. In the deep of night, when the wind howls outside the longhouse and the fire is low, I see it, the red berries, the deep woods, the silent people standing among the trees. I remember their eyes, not full of hatred, but of warning. We were not the first. We were only a chapter. Let the world tell of other men who claimed they discovered that land. Let them write their names in books and carve them into stone. I know the truth. We were there, and the land remembered.